You know how I feel starting this new video series? Exactly like that. Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. Also welcome to a brand new reading vlog in a brand new series on my channel. But before we start this vlog, let me tell you a little about why I'm doing this series. When people ask me, why did you join BookTube? What made you do it? My answer is always that so that I can share my love for books with people who can understand me and shout from the rooftops about the books that I love and listen when others do the same. So this February, when I completed 6 years on BookTube, I realized something. I've been doing these booktube videos for so long now, and I've met so many amazing people over the years whose recommendations I have grabbed with both hands and loved, but I haven't made any dedicated videos in which I shed light on these connections. And I wondered why. But then I decided that the whys don't matter anymore, and so I'm starting a new series of vlogs or videos here in which I read some of my favorite booktubers' favorite books of all time. Not to see if we like the same things, but as a testament to the fact that it's okay even if we don't see eye to eye, that different tastes and different opinions can coexist amicably. And maybe this is one lesson that the larger world would do with learning. And whoops, that was heavy, but it was completely necessary. So for the first video in the series, I asked 3 of my favorite booktubers of all time to recommend me their favorite books of all time, and they came through with some amazing sounding books and with some personal recommendations too. And I don't have to say that I cannot wait to start reading these books. A quick note, all of these booktubers are absolutely amazing, and I figured that you must be following them already, but if you aren't, go rectify that and follow them ASAP. The links to their channels will be up here in the cards as well as in the description box below. First up is one of the most beloved Indian booktubers of all time. I will always instinctively refer to her in my mind as Libro Review before I have to remind myself that her channel is now called Anchal Rani. Let's see what Anchal recommends to me.
Hey you guys, my name is Anchal and I am a YouTuber. I make content around books and lifestyle, and I am so grateful to you, Sonali, for actually including me in this video. And you asked me to recommend you one of my most favorite books of all times, and there are like so many books that I love from the bottom of my heart, but this book just has such a special place in my heart that I don't stop thinking about these characters. And if there is ever romance and love that I would want in my life, it would be like this. I would definitely want you to read this book once and see what it's like, and if it happens because I recommended it and by any chance you like it even a little bit, I will be so happy. And the book is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. Everybody who watches me already knows I'm obsessed with this and is bored of me talking about these books. It's the story of these 2 characters who feel like they don't deserve love because of some issues. As you read, you see, do they not? What do you think about it? I'm so excited for you to read this book, Sonali, and tell me what you think. I just hope it's not too bad. I'll feel so bad if I have recommended a bad book, but I am so excited. Thank you so much again for including me, and it was nice meeting you guys, Sonali's squad.
So I obviously went and hounded the library till they gave me this book. No, I didn't hound them. I just requested for it on the library app without any human interaction. Anywho, it's time for me to read Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, and I'm hoping that I don't find too much of myself in there. Okay, so drama aside, I'll see you once I have any thoughts about this book. Hi, hello. I have made progress on Alone with You in the Ether. I've finished part 1, but I have some thoughts about this one. The Alone with You in the Ether starts off a little too heavy on the prose, on the flowery language, on the, there's that word again, pretension. Introduction itself was like that. Then when the story starts, it's a bit of jumping between, it's not timelines per se, but it between character points of view. Like we are going from Reagan and her experiences, her thought process, the reasons behind her decisions, how she sees people, how she sees herself to be as someone who she doesn't want to be a reliable person because she thinks that that will become a habit if she allows people to get that dependent on her. She's a bipolar counterfeit artist undergoing court-ordered psychotherapy. I mean, obviously that's not what all she is about, but yeah, that's what we've seen of Regan so far. I mean, obviously that's not all there is to her, but as the story progresses, we'll see more of her and more of her reasonings, more of her interaction with the world, with the people in her life. So then we shift to Aldo, who is a doctoral student, and who is like contemplating this whole time travel kind of thing, and he is dabbling in hexagons. He has a particular fixation with hexagons. He believes that hexagons are what make up the world. We follow their trajectories until a certain point where they meet, and then each of them is so taken in by the other. There's one of the most romantic lines ever, if you will. Regan and Aldo have met, and Aldo cannot get Regan out of his mind for some reason, and then he says or he thinks it was more like there was a sliver of space between him and the outside world, and she had unassumingly filled it, less like a piece fitting into the vacancy of another and more like liquid being poured into a cup. And I was like, wow, bro, where did you pull that out of? It's simple, but it's so incredibly romantic in that little oh my god. And there's another place where I was this book referenced something I had seen before. You know that thing where they say that once you learn a new word or once you learn about the existence of something, you see it everywhere. And this book, it talks about one such thing. So a bit of a background. Here in Australia, we watch a quiz show called The Chase Australia, and here there was a contestant, I think it was a few months ago, who was a gurning champion. And gurning is where you make funny faces, and there's a whole competition for that and everything. And I was like, that's an interesting thing to know. A week or so ago, I came across it in some book. I cannot remember which book that was. For the life of me, I can't remember which book that was. And then I also came across it. Ow, wait, don't fall. There are 10 different things on my lap. This book, I came across it in this book, and then this book had to go and reference it. When you learn a new word, you suddenly see it everywhere. The mind comforts itself by believing this to be coincidence, but it isn't. It's ignorance falling away. Your future self will always see what your present self is blind to. This is the problem with mortality, which is in fact a problem of time. At this point, I'm just like, just read it. But let's see how the rest of the book goes, right? Anywho, so that's where I'm at, and keeping my fingers crossed that that's where we'll be at the end. Hi, I've now finished part 2 and I have so many thoughts. I have never read a book in which the characters are so aware of each other, not just physically but mentally as well. And Aldo and Regan are so obsessed with each other's brains. I just want to keep reading. And that's saying something, because right now I'm like reading 8 books, of which this is one. I don't think I feel that way about any of the other books that I'm reading. It's just great. At least so far, it's really great. I'm on page 115 right now and I'm loving it. Okay, first up, the writing. The writing is gorgeous. Some of the things that this author says in here, it wouldn't occur to anyone. And I think that's the hallmark of good writing, that you are putting these things out there, people are reading it and people are wondering, oh my god, that's true. Even if it's fictional, even if it might not make sense in the larger picture, you're thinking that way. That old reflex never died. The little pang of don't go, just stay, settle over me like the tide, cover me like a blanket, wrap around me like the sun. There's one point where Aldo comes to Regan's place of work and he he joins the impressionism tour that she's doing, he starts asking her questions. If someone I previously knew came to my place of work and asked me questions like they were testing me and not because they were curious or something, at least that's what it feels like when Aldo does this to Reagan. Like, if that happened to me, I would deck that person. I mean, probably. Okay, maybe not, but I wouldn't be happy with them. And this next part where there is this whole description of art and how art should stand alone from context, I think that's what it's called. It is so beautifully written, and it's now that I see why Anchal completely adores this book, why this is one of her favorite books of all time, her favorite book of all time. And I had this random thought about how this is a story of two people whose minds speak to each other, who then continue to become attracted to each other because they are so curious about how their minds work. They want to know how the other's mind works. And we go from having this exceptionally cerebral conversation into something that's so heavy and suggestive. I was like, wait, what? How did this happen? When did this happen? Where was I during all of this? They're in church, okay? They're in church, and he's just mulling over some mathematical equations, and suddenly the temperature has like jumped 30 degrees Celsius or something. And just after this, a little bit after this, they have this most charged non-verbal conversation, and oh my god, he asks her, what did you learn? And she thinks this incredibly romantic thing. Okay, just look, and I'm like, girl, you've got game. But it's all going on in her head. So what she thinks is that I could study you for a lifetime, carrying all of your peculiarities and discretions in the webs of my spidery palms, and still feel empty-handed. Babe, is this about to become a new 2024 favorite? Who knows? I don't have words. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, and suffice to say, I'm loving it, and I'm just hoping that I will feel the same way towards the end. So it's midnight right now, so I'm going to wrap this up for today and pick it back up tomorrow. So I'll see you once I have any more updates to give you. Hey there! So a couple of days ago I finished reading Alone with You in the Ether, and oh my god, this book is one of the most gorgeous books I have ever read. For me personally, this was all about the characters. This was all about how the characters handle each other. This is a character-driven story. It's not plot-driven. So if you're looking for something to happen, something extra, something excessive to happen, this is not the book for you. But if you are looking for beautiful writing, a human connection, and just gorgeous prose, it just teeters on that brink of being purple, but it's not really purple. It has that quality to it that will burrow deep inside your heart, and it will just do that to you. Like, I burst into tears, okay, at one point, because it was so relatable. It was so beautifully written. It was simple matter of fact statement, but it just awoke something inside of me. And I'm here sitting like, did you have to do that? I didn't hurt myself, but I'm sorry. I see why Anchal loves this so much, and I love it so much, and thank you so much for recommending the book to me, Anchal. And I'm going to get a copy of this book for myself. It is so lovely, so gorgeous. Okay, so the first quote that I came across was this one. One of Aldo's considerations when it came to time was how long it took conceptually before things became ordinary, unspecial. People were so easily desensitized, so helplessly numbed when it came to the repetitive nature of existence. He wondered first how long it had taken for Reagan to lose her sense of wonder with her own life, but then secondly, whether she'd ever had any to begin with. As the story progresses, there are different issues that come to light. The way these two characters interact, the way these two characters, despite having issues of their own, they make space for each other in their lives. I love it so much. I mean, I cannot even begin to explain to you how much I love this book. I mean, I was thinking that it would be a 5-star read, but it's actually not at this point, because there comes a point with a book where such a beautiful writing, such intensely, densely beautiful writing will sort of exhaust you. The exhaustion that came towards the end, that I was like, oh my god, I'm not going to give this a full 5 stars, am I? But I will shout about this book from the rooftops once this vlog goes up, because it deserves all the love in the world. And I cannot stress enough how just lovely this book is. So there's a point where Regan takes Aldo home to meet her parents, but her parents are some of the nastiest creatures I've met. Is that a spoiler? And no, not really. During this dinner or during this meal, whatever it was, we are come face to face with Madeline, who is Regan's sister. And I took an instant dislike to her at first, but then the way Aldo stands up to Madeline by explaining Regan to her, it's just... Madeline is also like very impressed. And I get it. Yes, I agree with you. My sister's pretty dang awesome. And my comment for this next quote is, holy shit, holy shut balls, look at how gorgeous this is. Above him were stars, beneath him was grass. There was wonder here, even if Regan no longer saw it. Even if she no longer felt it, he would feel it for both of them. He would translate it for her later. He would learn to draw it for her, he thought, or to write it or graph it. She seemed to appreciate things she could see. He thought of her gaze traveling over the scars on his shoulders, taking him in. Yes, he would draw it for her, and then she would see it. She would watch it take shape, and he would know he'd said it in a way she could understand. And then she would know that even this, with its ordinary features, was wonder and glory too. He didn't blame her for not seeing it. He blamed everyone else for letting her forget. The lens. Okay, as an extension to that, Regan asks, what do you think about dancing? She said. Yes, he said. He would have said it to anything. She could have suggested a mutiny, and he'd have searched tirelessly for an axe, a pitchfork, Excalibur itself. And she smiled up at him, lifting her chin to permit him full view of her approval. The prospect of it, of anything, buzzed in his veins. Yeah. There is one comment that I've made here that I've written down. I can't deal with how gorgeous the writing is, how romantic. I'm drinking it in and I'm speechless, and I wanted to give speeches about this writing, but I also don't have words, you know. Past me, I know exactly what you mean. See, this is why I love reading, because it brings you closer to your emotions. It brings you closer to the human emotions as a whole, to humanity as a whole. And Mark is such a hole when Regan tells him that she is now painting. He's like, it's cute you found a hobby, babe. You know what? A wowza quote. There are so many wow quotes in this book, but this one particular quote, that is the snippet that I read and posted to Instagram, and here it is. Art, a voice buzzed in her ear, was creation. It was dissecting a piece of herself and leaving it out for consumption, for speculation, for the possibility of misinterpretation and the inevitability of judgment. For the abandonment of fear, the reward would have to be the possibility of ruin, and that was the inherent sacrifice. That, her mind whispered, was art. I cannot deal with, like, how did the author come up with this? How did she think that, okay, I'm going to write this, I'm going to put this out there, and I'm going to let readers read this, and then I'm going to let this part ruin them. And then it clicked in my head and I was like, we've just been over this. The author just told you this is art. That is the whole point of art. So this next point, I mean, at this point I feel like I'm just reading parts of the book to you to illustrate what my feelings are, but yeah, that's how this book is. The point is, he doesn't need her to be anything. He doesn't need her to be on pills. He'd like her to be honest if she wants to be, but if she's going to lie, then he'd like to be in on it. That doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does. He doesn't want to be the person she hides from. He wants to be the person she hides with. These are distinct. Doesn't she realize? Does she have any idea how difficult he finds it to exist with other people? And then here she is, this mystery, this puzzle. Does she even know how much he loves her unpredictability, her twists and turns? She thinks her brain is some sort of problem? Fine, good. He loves problems. Oh my god, what a book. What a fabulous, fabulous book. It's a masterpiece. It's an absolute masterpiece and I love it so much. I mean, I cannot for the life of me understand why I hadn't read it before, and I'm so glad that Anchal recommended it to me. Yes, win. This is a win. Score 1 of 3 and I'm so happy. Okay, hold on. Is this better? Okay, so the second booktuber who is recommending a book to me is one of the wittiest and one of my most favorite booktubers of all time, and that is Zoe from Zoe's All Booked. I love Zoe's content, okay? I have gushed about her in videos before, but all the way from Canada, here is Zoe and her little filming buddy recommending this book to me.
Hello, I'm Zoe from the channel Zoe's All Booked with my filming buddy Zach here, and I'm recommending Soulless by Gail Carriger. Picking my favorite book of all time was super difficult, but I always recommend this one and I always go back to it. I read it at least once a year, so I figured this one would be appropriate. It's a steampunk Victorian fantasy that follows 26-year-old soulless spinster Alexa Terabody. After she's rudely attacked by a vampire who didn't even bother to introduce himself, she accidentally kills him, which sets into motion a series of semi-unfortunate events, but very fortunate for her since it involves the gorgeous werewolf Lord Macon. But he's also the bane of her existence, so is it really that great for her? Together they need to find out why unexpected vampires who don't understand social etiquette are popping up all over London and the expected vampires are disappearing, and also why everyone thinks that Alexia has something to do with it. This book is just so much fun and I hope you love it as much as I do.
So, Soulless is the first in the Parasol Protectorate series and I'm so excited. I already have the book lined up on my tab and I will be reading it from here because there's no physical copy anywhere in Australia for some reason. So I had to get a Kindle copy and ebook and I will be reading it over here and I am so super excited to read it, and now I realize that I'm rambling. So before I ramble even more, I'm going to go and start Zoe's recommendation, which is Soulless by Gail Carriger. Hey there, so I have been reading Soulless by Gail Carriger on my tab and I am really enjoying it. I am about 36% in, not 36, 39% in, and that's saying something because I'm just breezing through it because of how fun it is. This is set in 19th century Victorian era, I think, in London society, where vampires, werewolves and preternaturals, who are people without souls and who can nullify the effects of vampires and werewolves. Like, if I was a soulless person and if I touched a vampire, for the time that I was touching them, their fangs would retreat, their whole aura would change, they would just seem human during that time. This is not where I was making notes for this. What the heck? Look, I'm reading about 7 books in parallel, okay, and this is a notebook that I'm using for something else. I don't even remember where oh, it was the other one. And now different truths come to light about vampires appearing and disappearing. There are rogue vampires, there are lone werewolves who don't operate in packs. These rogue vampires are they don't exist in hives, they don't belong to any one particular group. And in the middle of all of this, Alexia finds herself and now she's wondering what exactly is happening in London high society. It is so much fun. I really like Alexa Terabody as a person because she is sassy, she is amazingly strong, and she knows how to defend herself. She knows how what rejoinders to give, and she is very smart, like a whip. And now I'm so looking forward to reading more of the story. But I do think that the writing feels a little contrived at times, because the voice of the writing isn't quite there. But then again, that could be attributed to the fact that it's not a Victorian era writer doing the writing. So I think that's completely a moot point. That complaint will not hold up. It's a minor complaint. I'm not bothered by it or anything, but it's just something that's keeps scratching at the back of my head. And yet I'm immensely enjoying this book. And I have made a few notes, not many, because I was so invested in it I didn't even feel like writing anything down. I just thought I'm going to wing it. This one particular one, it just sort of warmed my heart, and I can't even tell you why. Both supernatural sets, vampires and werewolves, preferred the artistic element in a companion, for there was always a better chance of excess soul in a creative person, and therefore a higher likelihood that he or she would survive metamorphosis. Thank you for believing in me. But like all outsiders in good faith with the establishment, they tended to forget their revolutionary roots and side with the establishment. The potentate would bow to the hives in the end. That is a description of everything wrong with the world. And then there is also the 19th century impropriety kind of thing, and the focus on a woman having a male child as against a female child, and the importance of having a male child. Okay, I have to keep reminding myself of the time that it was set in anyway. And yeah, the propriety of the 19th century, which is combined with the propriety that is shown by a werewolf going away into some alley to change and not just burst into their wolf form and tearing all their clothes and etc, etc. It's sort of not lost on me. My point is, I'm really enjoying Soulless by Gail Carriger. This is the first in the Parasol Protectorate series, and yeah, I see why Zoe loves this so much, and I love this so far, at least, and I'm hoping, and I have an inkling that maybe I'm going to end up liking, if not loving, this book at the end of it. Hey there! So I have been making progress on Soulless by Gail Carriger. I'm currently at around 70%, 73% or something, and things have gotten so out of hand, especially given that the setting is Victorian era London high society, and the way the supernatural is entwined and meshed into high society of those times. And it turned from a story about vampires and werewolves into something that reflects the reality of those times. Let us take, for example, something that started in, I think, the 1600s, the witch hunts. Something like that, which is also an indicator of the rigidity of society and how they are not prepared to accept anybody other than who they deem are the right people to live in society, who they deem are normal. And if they think that anybody doesn't meet those criteria, then they are going to do everything in their hands to make sure that that threat to society is eliminated. I really love how the story went from light, fun banter between a preternatural who is soulless, our main character Alexia Tarbotti, to the werewolf Alpha, and from talks about London high society to something that's completely so dangerously dark and low and heavy and rife with meaning, and I love it. I feel like I would have finished the whole book and then come and spoke to you about it if it weren't for the fact that my tab was running out of battery, and now it's currently on charge, which is why you don't see it with me. I don't care about the timing, I don't care about the context, I don't care that it is set in the 1800s. I just want to get back at anyone who bothers Alexia on her behalf. And this particular comment, which I think I will have to read it out because I don't think I can recreate this in any format. Even if you were to ask me to write it down, I wouldn't be able to bring this forward again. The integration of historical truths into a situation filled with the supernatural, especially when talking about American ideologies and such, in contrast with the reign of Queen Victoria and the impact of the recognition of supernatural beings in Britain, is super intriguing. The points that are made, that are pointed out, if you will, are tied up perfectly with the story. Loving it so much. the everyday realities of life, how people were treated, how the family dynamics worked, and how men treated women, how women were asked to behave in public with women, with other women, with men, and a sense of propriety and the rigidity and all of that, like tradition. And this author brings all of this together in a very interesting, intriguing, witty, fun way. And then there's the introduction of this gentleman called McDougall, I don't know how it's pronounced, Mr. McDougall, the American scientist who's here, and he's called on Alexia. He is talking about his scientific pursuits. He wants to weigh the soul and all of that, and they have a very stimulating conversation. Shit's going down at the point where I'm at right now, not at where I'm reading from. I hope that he doesn't turn out to be someone who's responsible for it, but I'm also like, kuch bhi ho sakta hai, anything can happen. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't know what I want at this point. You tell me. There's this point where things heated up. And how? And I'm like, propriety, rigidity, society. You are in London high society of the 1800s. What are you doing? Don't you have this? And then I was like, Son, will you shut up? And they carried on. And then there was something that happened, or it was a sort of a revelation of sorts, which had me going like all shades of disgusted. At this point, I don't even remember what exactly that was. But yeah, I actually remember making this face. And I dislike this society behavior, this Victorian era behavior so much. He could always ask the gentleman to do the right thing by his stepdaughter. But who would willingly take on Alexia for life? That was more of a curse than even werewolf change. What is wrong with you, Squire Luntwil? I mean, first of all, that name. But what is wrong with you? Okay, then I went on about how I hate Mrs. Luntwil so much to the next very interesting character in this book, who is Lord Akeldama. The terms of endearment that he has for Alexia are so excessive. Like he says, my diminutive gherkin, or sugar plummiest of the plums. What? But this also made me wonder whether this guy had something negative hidden under all this opulent language. Like, was he a spy, or was he undercover for some... I don't know. I mean, I know at this point, but at the point that I was at when I made this note, I was like... And at the end of chapter 9, I was like, oh my god, the end of chapter 9 was so good and so unexpected. I'm now very, very concerned about what's going to happen. It's true. I'm still concerned at the point I'm at right now. I don't know how a solution is going to be reached. I did become like suddenly defensive of the supernatural. Like there's a whole British colonialism kind, traditionalism and all that's coming out, and I feel like I would fight on behalf of the vampires, werewolves and the ghosts to make sure that they had a fighting chance against these people, because some of the people they are up against are just some of the most disgusting specimens of human beings, and we are seeing some of those specimens in the present. And I feel like these people who are in the book could be ancestors of these current people. And the guy who I am so pissed at least the group of people, and I was like, I wish the most hellish things on this particular person who is being a representative. And because he says we have nobility of purpose, but his smile was not unlike that of a religious fanatic. We are preserving the freedom of those who matter. Anyway, so that's where we are at the moment, and I have about 25-26% before the book ends. I'm now invested and I need to know. Hey, hi, hello. So last night I finished reading Zoe's book recommendation to me, and I must say I really enjoyed it. It was a mix of so many genres. Like there were so many. If you look for the genre side, I think there are about 10 or something. Some of which are historical fiction, then alternate history, there's supernatural paranormal fiction, which is obvious from the blurb, and then there's urban fantasy, there's romance, there's steampunk, and all of this just merges seamlessly into one another so well. It's made better by the very impeccable humor, wit, and the banter that is present between so many of the characters and in so many of the relationships in this story. But a quick heads up for you, you have to be careful about the familial emotional abuse and the xenophobia and indicated genocide, but these are crucial parts of the story and in the formation of these characters. I mean, that's not to say that I believe the saying that adversity is what makes a person or that it's necessary for character development. I mean, it's probably true, but I think that it's cruel to think that a person becomes someone great or a person becomes themselves or the person that they are only if they are put through the ringer. The whole concept of a soulless person in a society with supernatural members and one who can neutralize their effects and is a subject of many a curious mind is absolutely genius. Overall, I'm so glad that I read Soulless because I really enjoyed it. I mean, I might not love it, but I really liked and enjoyed it, so I'm taking this as a win. So right now the score is 2 out of 3. So once again, thank you Zoe for recommending this book to me. Okay, so for this first episode in this series, I was originally planning to read 4 books recommended by 4 of my favorite booktubers of all time. 2 you've already seen. Due to time constraints, I am having to cut it down to 3. So for the third book, I have decided to choose a book that is very pertinent to what's going on in the world right now. And this book is a favorite of and is recommended to me by one of my favorite people on the internet, and that is Jyotsna from Jyotsna's Bookscapades. Here's the book that Jyotsna is recommending to me.
Hi Sonali, this is Jyotsna here from Jyotsna's Bookscapades, and the book I really want to recommend to you is We Could Have Been Friends, My Father and I by Raja Shehadeh. This is a memoir on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, or rather the war on Palestine, and it talks about the author's father's experiences trying to get freedom for their countrymen.
Jyotsna's recommendation comes at a time when Palestinians are facing one of the most brutal and barbaric genocides ever. I mean, I have so many things to say about it, but words aren't enough for it. But coming to this book, We Could Have Been Friends, My Father and I requested that my library buy this book, and they did, but it's taking ages for them to actually acquire the physical copy. So I got a Kindle copy for myself. The book is about 160 pages long. It's a short book, but I know that it's going to be emotionally very long. And now I'm going to go and read We Could Have Been Friends, My Father and I will see you in a quick bit. Hi, hello. I started reading We Could Have Been Friends, My Father and I by Raja Shehadeh, and oh my god, this book. There is so much that I want to say, but words fail me. This is the author's memoir, Raja Shehadeh's memoir, in which he talks about his relationship with his father and the things that he saw his father do, his own disapproval of his father's actions, his father's disapproval of him, but in hindsight, everything comes up to be of a wholly different color than they thought it would be. And there is also this point where we as children get impatient with our parents when we think that they don't understand why we are doing what we are doing, or that they don't understand what it is that we are saying. But it is only when we grow up and we start experiencing those things ourselves that we can finally see the extent of reason behind our parents' choices. And even then, the quantity is just enough for us to understand their choices. That's all. We can never live their lives. We can never even predict what they have gone through. And when the context is Palestinian life and the father-son duo is a Palestinian lawyer duo, the concept, the subject, the situation becomes even more weighty and loaded. And it is like such a massive punch to the heart, because the context, the implications, the introspections about all of this, it becomes even more hard hitting because it is a memoir. We are talking about Raja Shehadeh's own experiences, his father's own experiences, his grandfather's own experiences. Surrounding all of this is the history of Palestinian land and Israeli brutality. There's also so many other countries, including the US, who are enabling Israel and ignoring the lives of so many Arab people. I'm getting new information from this book to do all of this, to have started doing all of that and using it as a curtain behind which you can hide and kill multiple people. You said never again. Was it only for you? This is a distressing book, but it is necessary reading. I don't have the right to complain about this distress because I'm just reading it. They are living it. I'm comfortable. I want for nothing. And there, they're losing lives. Why? Because I'm about 33% in. I must thank Jyotsna for recommending this book. I mean, I know that I haven't finished reading this book yet, but I know that I'm going to end up loving this book in its depiction of a father-son relationship as well as the political situation. So thank you, Jyotsna, for recommending this book to me. Hi there. I'm now about 58% into We Could Have Been Friends, my father and and I don't have much to say. The fact that he is lamenting the fact that he didn't know his father all that well, not until it was too late. And it is just so heartbreaking. Countries have been looting them, like blatantly looting them in broad daylight. They took their money, they took their land, and now they are stateless people. They have turned them into refugees on their own land. And to see how Raja Shehadeh talks about the work that his father did for fighting for the Palestinian people and trying to find different ways of fighting the Israeli occupation, fighting the Israeli government, and to bring justice in his own little ways. See, I am someone who is learning about the world a bit too late. These are some things that are not taught to us in our school curriculum. These are something that are brushed under the rug because someone at the top wants all of this to be under wraps. And even if it did come out, they are going to use excuses to validate or justify their own words. I don't know how the world can stand to see this. And to see the amount of information that's coming out from this thin book, from everything that Raja Shehadeh himself has done, he's telling us the history of, I don't even want to say conflict because it is too small a word for what Israel is doing to Palestine. It's just, I'm blowing my top. The author is talking about how his father earned a black spot as a result of defending some of the cases. And the author says, being a little child, I used to wonder about that black spot, where it was placed and how large it was. Now I think that perhaps it was so black and large that it blotted my father from my view and for a while stood in the way of my getting to know and love him. Imagine thinking that his father was being a little passive and then unearthing all of this after his death. To find all of this, all states were conspiring to make sure that the Palestinians did not represent themselves, driving people away from the lands. I mean, I need to calm down. The British, the House of Lords, when there's a case being fought because their money was all looted, the Lords literally said, we reached this conclusion with some regret, for this appeal is a hard case, but that is not the fault of the courts of this country. It is one of the results of war. Like hell, it is not your fault. I'm so upset as I'm reading this book, and it's a necessary sort of upset because it's good that I'm learning all of this. I mean, the only good that's coming out is more people know about it, but hi, hello, I'm here to round off this vlog, and because I just finished reading We Could Have Been Friends, my father and I, Jyotsna's recommendation to me, and this book is just so infuriating and heartbreaking. Infuriating in the way that everything that has come to light, that Raja Shehadeh has brought to light about the Israeli occupation and the measures that they took against Palestinians, and not just the blatant ones. There are even the back corners, back alley ways that they took, and I burst into tears twice or thrice as I was reading it because I felt so helpless in the face of it all. This is a book that's now a favorite of mine. It's 2024 favorite. It's very short, 160 pages, and in that Raja Shehadeh has put in so much detail, not just his relationship with his father, but what his father did for Palestinians, the way he strove, the way he fought, the way he was imprisoned and yet he did not give up. And at one point he's having an imaginary conversation with his father because he's no more, and the author imagines his father saying, "You think that because they've made you invisible, they've won? It pains me to hear you put it like that. This is a recipe for perpetual war. Don't you realize that the only victory is achievement of peace between our two peoples?" The regret that laces through the author's words, it becomes more pronounced towards the end, and that stabbed at my heart. It's not left anything within me. I just wanted to sit there and gaze off into space and think about everything, and to see all of this, the way people can be so, I don't know for what they are vindictive, but they are taking out their aggression, their racism onto the Palestinians, and Palestinians are left with no land to live, and now they are being bombed, carpet bombed. Okay, I don't have the energy to tell you impromptu, but I'll read out an incident that I've written in my own words, but which obviously I've taken excerpts from the book. So the author and his father went to meet a man who moved back to his home in Nazareth, and he says, "I decided I must make the best of it because I had no way to go back." To which Aziz Shehadeh went, "That's right, you couldn't have. You would have been shot as a traitor." And then Havari, the friend, says this that sort of stabbed at my heart. "It's ironic, isn't it, that after all our struggle for the return of the refugees, I should be called a traitor for returning her?" It's ironic because sometimes people lose sight of what's right and what's wrong in the hurry to make allegations and call someone a traitor, even if it's their own people. But this is a concisely written memoir, and there's so much love for his father from the author in this book, and so much regret in his own sense. It is informative, educational, infuriating, angering, heartrending, tear-inducing, tear-jerking. It is reality. It is a memoir, and that makes it even like so much worse. So Jyotsna recommended this book to me, and now I am recommending this book to you. So if you're looking for a non-fiction book about Palestine told from a Palestinian's perspective, then this is one that you should definitely check out. You should definitely read. This sort of reminds me of the state the world is in. I was wondering about why is it that good has to fight harder to make its place known in the world? Why is it that the righteous have to toe the line, otherwise our point will not be taken? All the while, on the other hand, on the other side, the evildoers, the wrongdoers will blatantly flout rules, they will blatantly murder people, and they will get away with it. Why is it? And my faith in humanity? But I guess we need to hold some faith in humanity, because without that, we won't be able to save the people being bombed, the people being killed. So maybe we need to retain some of it, some of that humanity. So yes, that was Jyotsna's recommendation to me. Full 5 out of 5 stars. Score is 3 of 3 from now, and all 3 Booktubers books have worked for me so well, and I love that. This is a great start to this series, and I will be coming up with more of these episodes very soon. And I hope that you like this video as much as I've enjoyed making it, and I hope that you will watch and enjoy the upcoming episodes as well, as much as I'm excited to make them. So what did you think of this video? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Have you read any of these books? What did you think of them? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.